All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you were to walk up to an average person on the street right now and ask them how to get rich, you know exactly what they'd say, right? I mean, we've all been fed the exact same traditional financial advice our entire lives. It's treated like absolute gospel. But here's the reality. It's a completely flawed operating system, and we really need to unlearn it.
You know the drill. Get a good degree, save 20% of your income, buy index funds, and just wait 40 years. Sound familiar? We're always told this is the safe, responsible path. But what most people consider a safe path to riches is actually just a slow-motion trap. Literally, it's a strategy perfectly designed to guarantee totally average outcomes. And hey, if you follow average advice, you're gonna get an average life.
So why do the wealthiest people on Earth seem to be playing a completely different game? I mean, really think about it. If hard work alone equaled massive wealth, the guys out there laying bricks for 80 hours a week would all be billionaires, but they aren't. And that's because the top 1% aren't just working harder, they're running an entirely different mental code. Let's decode that today.
Section 1. The average advice trap. Okay, so the average person typically uses information to prove they're right, to argue with strangers on social media, or just to gossip. But the top 1%, they use information as literal currency. There's this unspoken, silent rule in high wealth circles. Trust and secrets are the most valuable assets in the room, period. High-stakes deals that generate millions are built entirely on confidential leverage. If you talk too much just to get a quick burst of short-term social status, you're going to be quietly and permanently blacklisted from the rooms where the real decisions actually happen.
So look, the poor and middle class basically trade their time for money, right? It's a linear, exhausting equation. The rich start to break free from this by trading leverage and systems for scale. But the ultra-wealthy, they operate in a completely different paradigm altogether. They trade access and silence. Escaping the financial rat race doesn't require downloading another morning routine or trying some new productivity hack. It requires totally rewriting the subconscious code that drives your decisions.
Section 2. Insight versus resourcefulness.
Now, this is a pretty tough pill to swallow for smart people. Intelligence alone absolutely does not make you rich. Seriously, we all know highly analytical, deeply intelligent people who are completely broke. They can perfectly explain the global macroeconomic crisis to you or critique literally any business model. But while they're busy doing that, a guy who dropped out of high school to open a plumbing franchise or a logistics business is driving a Ferrari. Why is that? Because markets don't pay you for your insights, markets pay you for execution under friction.
So the crucial takeaway here is the stark difference between being insightful and being resourceful. Insightful people, they're experts at identifying obstacles. They'll find 50 reasons why an idea will fail, and then they get completely paralyzed by the fear of looking wrong. Resourceful people, on the other hand, are just absolutely obsessed with outcomes. They don't care about the 50 obstacles, they just care about crushing the very first one. A resourceful person operates with zero social shame. They'll go pitch 100 investors, embrace 99 rejections, and never let their ego protect them from looking stupid. They act, they fail fast, and they adapt.
Section 3. The paradox of status.
We're living in this hyper-connected era, caught in what we like to call the trap of micro-status. 20 years ago, you just had to be the most interesting person in a room of 15 friends. Today, you're competing against 8 billion people on a little glass screen. Think about your own habits for a second. We listen to indie music to feel unique, right, until it goes viral on TikTok. We travel to some remote, hidden destination, only to find 200 other influencers waiting in line to take the exact same photo. Every attempt to differentiate yourself in front of the whole world eventually just becomes a compulsion to conform.
The hyper-rich totally understand this psychological game, and they completely opt out of it. The middle class engages in conspicuous consumption, buying luxury items just to prove to total strangers that they have money. But the truly wealthy practice inconspicuous consumption. They buy assets. They buy back their own time. They keep their wealth invisible. Because listen, if your financial choices are being driven by a need to prove your status to people you don't even like, you're playing a game that is mathematically guaranteed to keep you broke.
Section 4. Operating from freedom.
Think back to the stuff you were told growing up. Study hard, or you'll end up working at a fast food counter. Don't risk your money. It doesn't grow on trees. Just play it safe. For about 95% of people, their financial mindset was sculpted entirely through fear-based conditioning. Because of this, failure feels like a fatal event. When a fear-conditioned person gets some money, their immediate instinct is purely defensive. Hold it, hide it, or spend it on short-term comforts just to kind of numb that underlying anxiety.
To escape this fear, we really need to completely redefine what money is. The
The wealthy don't look at money as paper or just digits in a bank account. They view capital as soldiers. Every single dollar is a soldier whose only mission is to be sent out into the market, capture more dollars, and bring them back. To them, losing a few soldiers, failing, isn't a personal flaw. It's just the expected price of admission for getting nonlinear returns. You have to separate your ego from your financial outcomes. Like, if a business fails, the business failed. You aren't a failure. Operating from fear traps you in this defensive, zero-sum game. But operating from freedom means embracing controlled risk and seeing failure purely as a data point. Without creating that separation, you can never position yourself for asymmetric upside. Those incredible opportunities where the risk is actually quite small, but the reward is entirely life-changing.
Section 5. Blueprint for Financial Autonomy.
All right, so here is your blueprint for absolute financial autonomy. This is how you step out of the matrix and start actively shaping your reality. There are 3 fundamental shifts you really need to make, starting today. Step 1, shift from consumer to architect. You've got to stop consuming other people's narratives, trends, and outrage. Ask yourself every single morning, am I building my own assets today, or am I just helping someone else build theirs? You have to stop letting the world happen to you and start happening to the world.
Step 2 is upgrading your environment. I know you've probably heard it before, but it's mathematically true. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your inner circle is always complaining about the economy and gossiping, you're going to mirror that broke reality. Your social circle is a literal financial asset. You need to consciously surround yourself with an upgraded circle, people who actually discuss leverage, systems, health, and long-term vision.
And finally, step 3, move from insight to action. Stop waiting for perfect information. Let me be totally direct with you here. Perfectionism is really just cowardice in fancy clothes. You're using planning as an excuse to avoid the vulnerability of launching. Remember, the market always prefers the resourceful person who takes imperfect action today over the supposed genius who plans for 5 years but never actually launches a single thing.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Take a real look at your daily routine. Look at exactly where your energy goes. Are you building your own assets today, or are you just a soldier in someone else's matrix, helping them build theirs? The choice of what game you play next is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there, be resourceful, and start